everyone, and welcome to the 2022 PURA Syndrome Virtual Conference. We are so glad you're here, and I would love to hear from everyone in the chat. If you'll drop a comment and tell us where you're from. My name is Amanda Shanks, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm the president of the PURA Syndrome Foundation. But more importantly, I am a mom to a beautiful 6-year-old girl named Taylor, who was diagnosed with PURA syndrome in 2018 at the age of 2.5. And as you can imagine, given how rare PURA syndrome is, I had never met anyone with PURA syndrome before. As a matter of fact, I had very few connections with any families who had a child with a rare condition or a disability. And living without a diagnosis was a very scary and a very uncertain time. And it was also very isolating. It was sometimes difficult for me to know where we fit in, and even more challenging to find people who truly understood what we were going through. After 2.5 years of wondering what might be causing Taylor's developmental delays, I received the call about her diagnosis in my living room on a very cold January afternoon. My husband came home that afternoon, and we immediately tried to gather as much information as we could so that we could begin the task of calling our family and sharing the news. It's all a little bit of a blur, but one thing that I really remember is how our friends and our family, our medical providers, and all of Taylor's therapists really rallied around us, and they've continued to do that through the years. When you get pregnant or when you first have a child, you hear that phrase that it takes a village to raise a child. And as cliche as that phrase is, it really is so true. And I needed a village in 2018. I needed to know that I was not alone in this journey. And after Taylor's diagnosis, I quickly found the PURA Syndrome Foundation website and also the Parents of PURA Syndrome Facebook group, or POPS, and was able to connect with families from all over the world. And although we are not all the same, we have so much in common. And we attended our first conference that June, and I was amazed at all that had already been accomplished by just a few dedicated parents and families and a collective of researchers who were committed to studying the PURA gene. There's still so much that we don't know and that's yet to be discovered about PURA syndrome. But I personally have not been discouraged by this. Seeing so many people rally around the same goal and purpose has given me tremendous hope. Hope for better treatments and therapies for our children, better access to care and equipment, and less social stigma surrounding disability. I believe that it's critical to support and value individuals for exactly who they are, recognizing their tremendous gifts and strengths, while also seeking advancements in medicine and therapies which will empower and enable them to live full and healthy lives. And we as caregivers need the support as well. In the event that you do not have a village at home or in your hometown, I just want to give you a warm welcome. You have one now. And it's a really powerful village. I've seen the power of this PURA community at work. I've interacted with founding board members who started all of this almost 8 years ago. I've seen all of you raising awareness for World Rare Disease Day and doing amazing and creative work in your communities. I've seen how we support one another in the POPS Facebook group and in meetups. I work with a fantastic board of directors, and we now have countless volunteers who help us to do the work of the foundation. I've seen the dedicated work of researchers who often give significantly more of their time and resources to our community than what they're compensated for. And we are a part of a much larger rare disease community from whom we can work alongside and learn. Taylor was diagnosed in January, and we ended up celebrating our very first World Rare Disease Day 1 month later in February. That particular year, the Rare Disease Day slogan was "Alone we are rare, together we are strong." That slogan has always remained both in my heart and on my mind. So needless to say, I was thrilled when the conference planning team suggested the theme of our conference for this year. Together we are stronger, and we are. No one person has propelled our community or the foundation to where it's at today. It's been a truly collective and collaborative effort. It takes a lot of teamwork to accomplish all that we have, and it will take us all working together in the future to provide the best care and support for individuals and families and to help drive research into PURA syndrome forward. It's my hope that you will walk away from this conference armed with information and tools which you can carry with you into your daily lives, and also that you'll leave feeling encouraged and motivated, empowered, and most importantly, connected to this PURA tribe. With that being said, undoubtedly you are going to have questions, especially during some of these research sessions. The scientific information can be confusing and at times overwhelming, but please know that we're here to answer any questions that you might have. Most of our sessions will be followed by a Q&A. However, if you're unable to attend a session or you think of a question after the session is over, I invite you to submit questions via our website, www.puraconference.org. And next Saturday, June 18th, we will host a final elements panel with several of our researchers and clinicians to address any outstanding questions that emerge throughout the weekend. There will be a lot of information coming your way in the coming days, which we'll talk more about in a minute. And it can be a little overwhelming. So before we get started, I just encourage you to pause and take a deep breath. Know that you're not alone in this journey and that we're here to support you because together we're stronger. To kick off this morning, I wanted to give everyone just a very quick overview of the foundation, and then we'll discuss some of the sessions that are coming over the next few days throughout this weekend. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please submit them using the Q&A feature in Zoom, and I will try my best to answer them, time willing, at the end of the session. I am just going to pull up a PowerPoint in just one second. Okay. So I did want to give just a quick overview of the work of the foundation, especially over the last 2 years. The mission of the PURA Syndrome Foundation is to serve, educate, and fund research for individuals and families impacted by PURA syndrome. We are governed by a board of directors. That board of directors consists of me as president, Damon Fisher, treasurer, Jennifer Bierling as secretary, Caroline Thorpe is serving in a family empowerment role, Eva Tucker for digital consulting, Elizabeth Astridge for communications, and John Erickson and Eva Kate are at-large board members. I also wanted to include Todd Vaught on here, who just rolled off the board of directors at the beginning of this year and was previously serving as the vice president. This is an amazing group of parent advocates and caregivers who volunteer their time and their energy and their resources to help put this conference on, to help drive research forward. And I'm incredibly grateful to each of them for the gifts and the strengths that they bring to this organization. I also, before we even get started, want to give a huge shout out and a huge thanks to our conference planning team this year. They've done an amazing job putting together a weekend that is full of really relevant content for our families. We could not have done it without Nancy Baccia, who's been our project manager and events planner for this conference. She helped us last year with our virtual conference. And again this year, she's a powerhouse and she helps keep us organized and keeps things structured. And we literally could not do this without her. I also want to thank Bettina Schmid, who is a member of the Global Research Network. She has helped to put together all of the research and medical sessions that you will see throughout the weekend. And she's been a tremendous help this year in pulling together some, I think, really interesting sessions for research and the science side of things this year. I also want to thank Eva Tucker, Caroline Thorpe, Elizabeth Astridge, Eva Kate, Melissa Vaught, and I also sit on that team as well. Everyone has devoted many hours of work to planning this conference, and we are really incredibly grateful to each one of these people for the time that they've put into this. For those of you that are new here, just a little history on PURA syndrome. PURA syndrome was discovered and identified in 2014. We saw our first published research papers in 2014. They were published literally within days of one another. And many of the families who were involved in those research papers um, began to kind of gather and find one another and eventually started the PURA Facebook group, which they named at that time PURA Tribe. In 2015, that tribe, that group of people, met for the first time, and they changed the Facebook group name to what we know today as Parents of PURA Syndrome, or POPS. They also launched a PURA Syndrome website at that time with intentions of starting a foundation and a nonprofit organization. And then in 2016, they hosted their first PURA Syndrome Foundation conference in Southampton, UK. And in December, the PURA Syndrome Foundation became an official 501c3 organization. There have been many highlights over the years, but for this conference, I really wanted to take some time to take a look at some of the advancements and developments that have happened over the last year and a half. So in 2021, and I'm not going to read all of these for you, but just to highlight a few things, the foundation did fund two research grants. One was for a registry nurse research assistant to support the PURA Syndrome Global Registry, which you'll hear more about in just a second, as well as a biobank fellow to help establish a formal biobank in Germany. We also help to support and fund open access research papers. What that means is that if you Google a research paper or Google PURA syndrome and you see an interesting research paper, open access means you can click on it right away and read it. Some research papers and journals make you pay a fee to get it, and we try, when possible, to make research on PURA syndrome as accessible for both patients and clinicians as possible. We also hosted the 2021 PURA Syndrome Virtual Conference, in large part because last year at this time we had a surge with COVID-19, but we've also found that it's been really accessible for our families to be able to attend virtually as well. We have families from all over the world who join us, and it was arguably our most well-attended conference that we've ever had. We also began doing virtual meetups at last year's conference. Some of them were regionally based, and then some of them were age or topic based, and we plan to continue those into the future. We've had them quarterly since, and can't wait to see how that begins to develop and evolve over time. We did also start a conference planning committee, a grants committee, and a finance committee, and we welcomed 3 new board members at the end of last year as well. We also celebrated World Rare Disease Day and PURA Syndrome Awareness Month. World Rare Disease Day is in February of every year, and PURA Syndrome Awareness is in October. It's a great opportunity to educate and inform people about PURA syndrome, and then we also usually do fundraisers as well around that time. But I will say that 2021 was not without its challenges, especially coming on the heels of the COVID-19 pandemic. 2020 for the foundation, as well as for many nonprofits, was a really challenging year for a lot of reasons. And we really noticed a significant hit on our total income last year. Last year, we were only able to raise $58,000, which is significantly less than in previous years. We really attribute that in large part to the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the fact that some of our major fundraising events had to be canceled. And then also we have not had a dedicated person for fundraising sitting on the board of directors. It's something that we are very much hoping to fill in the coming year because we think it's incredibly important. However, you can see that our total expenses are very reflective of the mission of the foundation. 47% of our total income or our expenses went towards research grants, and 24% went towards serving and educating families and the public with our PURA Syndrome Conference. For this upcoming year, we are hoping to raise at least $70,000. The vast majority of that will come through our awareness campaigns and also peer-to-peer fundraising. And if you're not familiar with that term, peer-to-peer fundraising basically means that individuals or individual families do a fundraiser on behalf of the foundation. Our family does a peer-to-peer fundraiser every year for World Rare Disease Day. And we start a fundraising page in collaboration with the foundation. And then I send out letters to family and friends, and they contribute to support our family and the mission of the PURA Syndrome Foundation. Others have done peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns for their birthdays. They've done Facebook fundraisers on their birthdays or on their child's birthday. We've had people who have worked in restaurants who have collaborated with their restaurant, and a portion of the proceeds will go to the foundation for one night. There's lots of different ways that it can be done. Um, but when everyone is involved, it makes a significant and huge impact. We do hope that eventually we will have another fundraising event as well, either in person or maybe a virtual fundraising event that we can engage more people in. And hopefully we'll be seeing more of that soon. But clearly, fundraising is a need of the foundation. If you're interested in helping us, we would love to hear from you and talk through some of your ideas. Our projected expenses for 2022, you will see that it pretty much matches what we project our income to be. And we hope and have budgeted out that about 45% of our funds will go towards research grants, 25% toward the conference, 8% toward community affiliate and our chapter development. And you will hear a little more about this later. And we did budget, because we weren't sure with the pandemic what things would look like, some travel expenses for both the GRN and the board for conferences. That could have been for the PURA Syndrome Conference if we were in person. But we also want to support our researchers and our board members in attending larger conferences for rare disease organizations, um, medical conferences, research-based conferences, um, things like with the NIH, anything that may pop up, we have dedicated funds that are allotted for that. I anticipate that we will be under budget for that line item this year, but we did want to dedicate expenses for that in the event that someone wanted to attend a conference. And we've had a lot of exciting things already happen in 2022. We saw the official launch of the PURA Syndrome Registry and the Natural History Study in January. If for those of you who were here with us last year, you will know that at this time last year, we were doing a soft launch to about 30 or 40 PURA families with the registry. They were testing out a user guide that we had and making sure that everything with the registry was working well and there were no questions or issues. And so we launched it to our full community in January. Our research nurse assistant is in place and is helping with the administration and the support of that registry. And it's currently available in English with plans in the future to translate into multiple languages. However, I will say that we do need your help. If English is your primary language, we would love for you to join the registry and complete the information for it. Since our initial launch in January, we've had very few new registrations, and it's an incredibly important research tool for both the foundation and for future research. I hope by the end of this weekend that if you haven't done so already, you'll visit our website, www.purasyndrome.org, and there's a tab for the registry. You can look at all of the information about it there, or if you want to, you can just email our nurse research assistant directly at pura@soton.ac.uk, and she will get you started right away. Um, just for a little bit of context as to why this is so important, and you're probably going to hear about it a lot throughout the weekend, is that the PURA Syndrome Registry helps us to gather information on PURA syndrome across the lifespan. And so the more people who participate in that registry, the more information that we're able to gather, which will allow us to, over time, do a natural history study or a longitudinal study, and um, to be able to see changes that happen across the lifespan, as well as things that pop up and are consistent for all of our families, or things that might make your child or another child different in some ways from others. This is really pivotal and is a cornerstone for future clinical and translational research decisions. What we gather from this particular study will help us in making future decisions that could lead to potential therapies in the future for our children. So I really encourage everyone to join the registry and to complete that information. Also, we have our biobank fellow in place as well. And she is hard at work establishing protocols and administrative tools and web support for the biobank. You probably will not see any of that until at least the end of the year. However, I have seen some of it and I'm really excited about it. This is going to allow people to send tissue samples to the biobank so that we can begin to have a collection of samples that we can pull from for research projects, which also will tie in with the registry and is really important for future research as well. The board of directors also just approved a grant to the University of Portsmouth. This has not been announced until today, for just shy of 13,000 US dollars. This is to fund a large incubator with controlled lighting. And you remember when I said earlier that you will have questions about science. This is a prime example. It is to support a study at the University of Portsmouth called Quantifying Behavioral Traits in Pre-Metamorphic Xenopus Tadpoles and Applying These Parameters in Models of Neurodevelopmental Disorder. For the record, I don't expect any of you to understand what I just read. I barely understand it, but in layman's terms, we are purchasing an incubator to support a much larger study that's going on at the University of Portsmouth for Xenopus tadpoles that will ultimately, hopefully, allow for us to trial out some FDA-approved medications on these Xenopus tadpoles for the treatment of things like epilepsy and endocrine disorders, which is really exciting. So we're excited to contribute, even in a small way, to a much larger research project that's going on. We also celebrated World Rare Disease Day with World Rare Disease organizations from all over the world in February. We raised approximately $18,000 and families from all over the world brought awareness to PURA syndrome and helped to educate others. We've also continued our virtual meetups into this year. And I am very excited to share with you all this next program. It is launching today, as a matter of fact, and that is our ambassador program. And our board member, Caroline Thorpe, who is over family empowerment, has been working really hard on both an ambassador and an affiliate program. And I want to invite her on for just a second to introduce this program to everyone and also introduce you to our ambassadors. So Caroline.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Well, I just wanted to say hello to everyone, and it's a real pleasure to be here. My name is Caroline Thorpe, and as Amanda said, I'm a member of the board of directors, but more importantly, a mum to two beautiful children, Angie and Joshi. And Joshi is my PURA boy, who is 8 years old. I assist the foundation with welcoming new families and connecting members of our PURA community. My role is family empowerment. Now, as Amanda said, a project we are delighted to share with you all is the Ambassador Project. As our community grows around the world, we at the PURA Foundation want to be a part of this amazing experience and assist in every way we can. We have developed this program to help practical matters in the most direct and effective way possible. This consists of having a representative who is the person of reference for each different region and for specific topics. They are known as our PURA ambassadors. I have been so lucky to be working with them because they are all amazing, have done so much for the community, and they have wonderful ideas. They will cover many different functions, including welcoming new families, encouraging and promoting a supportive and welcoming environment, helping to answer questions directed to the region or the topic, serving as a point of contact for new families, which we all know is very important when you first get a diagnosis, sharing relevant information with the PURA Syndrome Foundation, and guiding families in helping any way they can. All of these ambassadors must sign a non-disclosure agreement. At the moment, we have started with France, Germany, Italy, Spain, UK, US, and a topic-based one, which is called Caring Together. You will hear more about this one later, but I just wanted to give a brief explanation. This one is to promote the power of us joining together as families to support each other, to simply be there for each other. This could be done when you are newly diagnosed, when you're even going through a new stage with your PURA child, if you have lost your PURA child, or if you are simply at a point in your life when you feel like having a community around you could help you share in your experience. You can find their emails on the conference webpage under the resources tab. If you would like to be an ambassador for a region or a specific topic also, please let us know. Now we're going to get to the fun bit, which is actually introducing them. So we are honored to have all of our ambassadors here. Apart from Jenny from Germany, who couldn't be here, but she didn't want to miss it, so she has sent us a lovely video to introduce herself.
Hallo an alle, ich bin Jennifer Herold, ich bin 33 Jahre alt und seit kurzem die offizielle Botschafterin für die Foundation im deutschsprachigen Raum. Unser 3-jähriger Sohn Theodor hat PURA und seit 2020 organisieren Maika und ich für den deutschsprachigen Raum immer wieder digitale Treffen für die Familien und wir hoffen erstens natürlich, dass wir uns bald auch persönlich alle treffen können und wir freuen uns auch auf eine engere Zusammenarbeit mit der Foundation.
We would also like to welcome Melanie, who is our ambassador for France.
Bonjour, moi je suis Mélanie, ambassadrice de France. Je suis la sœur d'un petit PURA, Yoshua. Il a 8 ans. Je suis très contente de faire partie de la fondation et j'ai hâte de vous rencontrer pour pouvoir vous aider et vous accompagner.
Thank you, Melanie. We would also love to welcome Francesca, who is our ambassador for Italy.
Buongiorno a tutti, io sono Francesca, sono la mamma di Stefano e sono molto felice di aver ricevuto questo incarico per rappresentare tutte le famiglie italiane per la PURA Conference. Hello everyone, I'm Francesca, I'm Stefano's mom, and I'm here to represent every PURA family who lives in Italy, and one family from Albania who told us to be in Italy's group because of the language. They talk in Italian, sorry. Sorry for my English too. And so they asked me to be in Italian group, and also I would say thanks to PURA Syndrome Foundation, because we will never be alone again. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much, Francesca. And we would also like to welcome Mireia, who is the ambassador for Spain.
Buen día, buenos días. Soy Mireia, madre de Algué y Elna, de 8 años, con síndrome de PURA. Vivimos en Cataluña, al norte de España, y estoy muy contenta de poder formar parte de este equipo de ambassadors para poder coordinar y ayudar a nuevas familias a que se sientan arropados, que se sientan acompañados como nosotros lo hemos estado, y para que puedan para ayudarlos a entrar en contacto con esta gran comunidad que es la familia de síndrome PURA. Muchas gracias a la Fundación por contar conmigo y espero ser de ayuda. Gracias.
Gracias a ti, Mireia. And now we would like to welcome Mel, who is the ambassador for the UK.
Hi, I'm Mel from Plymouth, UK. I have Emily, who is 20 years old. She was diagnosed in 2014 after 13 years of questions, and we were relieved to finally get a diagnosis. I aim to bring UK families together to help answer any questions or direct families to others who may be able to help and to assist with what can be a daunting time. I'm also wanting to look into fundraising, UK meetups, and generally increase PURA awareness in the UK. Very excited to be a UK ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mel. We would now like to welcome Melissa, who is the ambassador for the US.
Hi, my name is Melissa Vaught, and I am honored to be the U.S. Ambassador for PURA syndrome. My husband Todd and I have 2 children, Taylor and TJ. Our daughter Taylor is 28, and she has PURA syndrome. And I just feel like it's vital for newly diagnosed families and all PURA families to have a point of contact to go to with questions and concerns and guidance as we all go through this journey together. So thank you for welcoming me as your new U.S. Ambassador for PURA syndrome.
Thank you very much, Melissa. And now we would like to welcome Jessie, who is the ambassador for Caring Together.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jessie. My son is Jameson Jude. He is 6 years old and he passed away last summer. But I am here to help support parents that have gone through the loss of a child. Also, a new diagnosis, as Melissa said, and that's where the Caring Together comes in play, where there's more information coming, and we're going to be doing Zoom meetings every couple months just for family support of anything that you need or want to talk about, even, you know, the grief of it all around, but just to bring more of a relating to other families and a positive spin on everything.
Thank you very much, Jessie. See what I was saying about how lucky we have been to be working with them all. They're all amazing, and thank you all so, so much. On another note, in collaboration with other rare disease organizations and regional representatives from our PURA community, we have also been working on our affiliate programs, so countries who have a growing population can create their own association in their country and be part of our team at the same time. We are a strong community, and as we have already said, together we are stronger. If you do have any questions at all or anything you'd like to share, or if you would like to be an ambassador for a region or for any topic, please contact me at families@purasyndrome.org. And thank you very, very much for your time. And thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Caroline, and thank you to all of our new ambassadors. We are so excited to have you as a part of the PURA Syndrome Foundation. Your work is really meaningful in helping to welcome newly diagnosed families and in building the community that we really want to have across the globe for PURA syndrome. So thank you all so much. A couple of other things that are on the horizon for 2022 are we are looking to revamp our website, and we have a team of people working on that at this time. If you're interested in helping with that, please feel free to email me and let me know. I know they would love to have your thoughts and feedback. We also plan to attend several rare disease conferences. We're planning to make a few changes to our research grant process in order to maximize support for research. And we do want to continue to support and promote both the registry and the biobank. And obviously, as you can see, we are a collaborative team. It is a collaborative effort in working together to accomplish everything for the foundation. And if you're interested in being involved, we would love to have you. These are just a few of the ways in which you could potentially be involved. We are especially looking to have some help with social media, with finance and administration. If you speak other languages, are bilingual or multilingual, we would love to have your help. We have people who are diagnosed all over the globe. So having points of contact, just like our ambassadors, is really, really important for us. And as I mentioned earlier, fundraising and events is something that we could really use some help with. But those are just a few of the ways that you can be involved. If you have an interest, I would love to set up a time to meet with you, and we can discuss options and see how you can be involved. I have my email here at the bottom of this slide. It is a.shanks@purasyndrome.org. I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to give me any feedback that you have. Or like I said, if you want to be involved, just shoot me an email. And I'm happy to set up a time to meet with you and we can discuss some options. So next up, I just want to, let me get out of my screen share here. I just want to welcome Bettina Schmid onto the screen. And so that she and I can give you guys just a little bit of an expectation of what's to come for this weekend. Immediately after this session, you're going to be hearing from Sharu Azadi, who's the author of The Kindness Method on how we as caregivers can develop self-compassion and change our habits. But we also sent out a survey in the fall to see what content our community most wanted. And I'm really thrilled with the schedule of presentations and interactive sessions that we have planned for this year. So I want to introduce you guys to Bettina. Bettina is a part of the PURA Syndrome Global Research Network and has assisted our conference planning team in arranging all of the research and medical sessions this year. Bettina works as a research group leader and head of the zebrafish core unit at the German Center for Neurodegenerative Diseases in Munich, Germany. And Bettina, I just want to thank you for being here and for all of your help in planning for this conference. Can you just hop on and tell us a little bit about yourself and about the research that you do as well for PURA syndrome?
Yes, thank you very much for this nice introduction. And I'm very happy to be part of this planning team. And it was a great excitement to put together the sessions, the research sessions that you will hear about in the following days. So as Amanda already said, I'm working in Munich. I'm by training a biologist, so I'm not a clinician, and I do basic research. And for my research, I use a small animal model, a fish. And that might sound weird to you, but a fish is actually, from its genetics and from its biology, quite similar to humans. So it has 70% of the genes are similar to humans. And also you can study diseases in this fish. So they're also vertebrates, just like we, so they function just like humans or similar to humans. And they're very easy to manipulate genetically. So we can switch on and off genes, which allows us to create disease models. And because it's a small animal, it also allows us to do drug screening very efficiently. And this is where I am going with my research. So I want to study the biology of certain genes and then find cures if a malfunction or a mutation in this gene causes a human disease.
Absolutely. And it sounds like that has benefits to our community in a lot of different ways, both in the ability to manipulate the genes, but then and also because they serve as such a great model for potential drug treatments and therapies as well.
Exactly. And this is where I want to go with my research, that, zebrafish also have the PURA gene, and it seems to work very similar to human cells. And so I think we can hopefully learn a lot about the basic biology of the gene function. And also then in the next step, I hope that we can also find drugs or chemicals that can make maybe the loss of PURA protein less detrimental for the organisms.
Absolutely. It's fascinating research that you're doing, and we're excited to have you doing it. So Bettina, we have a few research sessions that are planned for today. Can you tell everyone a little bit about what to expect?
Mm-hmm. So basically we have two research sessions. One is today, and this is a little bit more of basic research that you will get an introduction into. So the first research session is basically starts with an introduction in the Global Research Network. And that there you will be introduced in who are the people that are doing the research and what kind of research is currently ongoing. So you will get a little bit an overview, and also with perspective where we think that what we can achieve maybe in the next couple of years and where we want to take this research into. So after this introduction, there will be another session, and it's called How to Read a Genetic Diagnosis. And this session is also basically introducing into the concept what is a gene function, what do these mutations do, and what does it tell you if somebody tells you there's a mutation in this protein. So it will also be very general and an overview, and hopefully also helpful in understanding these diagnoses. And the third part is also part of basic research. And here a group of very dedicated PhD students, they will introduce some of the tools how we study protein function. So it's also quite general, and it will hopefully introduce you to some of the tools, how we do research, how do we try to understand protein function, and so forth. So today will basically be a very great combination of helping to understand the tools and the basic mechanisms that, how we do research.
Perfect. I think that's great. Every year we try to give some kind of basic science sessions for everyone, because it's been a while since we've all had biology and genetics in school. But I love that this year I feel like are really focusing on some topics that we haven't covered. We always get questions from people about what do all these letters and numbers mean?
Exactly.
And so I think that one will be a really interesting session for everybody to be able to listen to. Later today, too, we are excited to welcome Rachel Rose back to our conference at 4 p.m. She's going to be presenting on feeding therapy, which has been a much requested topic for this conference. And she's going to be hosting a coffee after her presentation to specifically answer your questions about feeding therapy. And tomorrow is really packed full of sessions for caregivers. We received a lot of feedback through our conference survey that people wanted to hear more about self-care for caregivers, how to build a supportive and collaborative team to support your child and your family. And we also have a session tomorrow on training, specific training on how to communicate with confidence in advocating for your child. So I'm really excited about that lineup for tomorrow. We're also going to be hearing from a disability activist, Joseph Stramondo, about how to tackle ableist stigma, which I think is going to be a really interesting session too. But then on Monday, we kind of go back, and it's a really heavy research day on Monday with some new faces as well as some old and familiar faces. Do you mind sharing with us about those, Bettina?
Yeah, so basically my intention for this Monday research session was to be very clinical and to basically give everybody a little bit of overview what other communities in other rare diseases are doing that are maybe a couple steps ahead of us, to give us a perspective where in the coming years PURA syndrome research and therapy can go. So it will start with Dr. Hunt and Dr. Barale basically explaining the patient registry, what it's good for, and really explain to you what they're doing in this research or with this registry. And then I'm also very happy to have Jessica Duis with us. She wrote a really wonderful article about therapy for Angelman syndrome, which is also a rare disease. And I think we can learn a lot from looking at other rare diseases. What are the requirements to start a clinical trial? How do clinical trials work? So basically, what is the future holding for your community? And then lastly, I'm also very, very excited to have two speakers, and they published also a very, very interesting research paper. It's Dr. Stanley Uyadurai and Dr. Rita Weierbeck. I'm sure I didn't say those names right, but they basically will give you an introduction into hypotonia. And these are researchers that treated a PURA child with a approved medicine for hypotonia and published their research. And I thought this might also be very interesting to understand more from the clinical side about hypotonia, and also maybe see if there's treatment option for this particular aspect of the syndrome.
Definitely. I feel like all of our sessions, we really tried to collaborate with this theme of the conference of Together We Are Stronger, and including researchers from the Global Research Network, but also looping in some of these researchers who are working with other conditions in the rare disease community. And I'm really excited for that hypotonia session. That's one that on our parent survey, that's a topic that everyone wanted to hear about as well. So thank you again for all of your work on these sessions. On Monday, we're also going to be having a really interesting kind of clinical, but in a different way, session on food as medicine too, where we'll be hearing from Dr. Terry Hamlin and nutritionist Jennifer Frank about how we can promote health and healing and well-being through food, which seem to be, it kind of coincides with the feeding therapy that we're doing with Rachel Rose this afternoon. So those will be some very interesting and kind of collaborative sessions as well. And just a reminder to everyone, next Saturday, June 18th, we will be hosting a final elements panel as well. Bettina will be on for that panel, as well as Professor Dirk Niesing and Dr. David Hunt. And most of our sessions for the conference, most of them will be recorded, so you'll be able to view them all throughout the week. So if you would like to submit questions, or if you think of a question long after a session is over, we encourage you to submit those questions on our conference website, www.puraconference.org. And we will make sure that those questions get addressed at that final Q&A at the end of the week. Bettina, I just want to thank you again for your help. You've been amazing to work with, and I'm, like I said, so excited about the lineup of sessions that we have planned for this weekend. For everyone, I just checked the Q&A. There were no questions. However, if you have any, feel free to email me directly or submit your questions through the conference website, and I'm happy to address them at the final elements panel. There's going to be a very brief 10-minute break before our next session, the kindness method, and we will add that link to that session into the chat here directly, or you can also access that session through your email or on our website. We are so glad you're here, and I look forward to meeting each of you throughout the weekend and hope to see you soon.